let's take that a step further. We continue on the same track that we are as a society, in the world really for that matter, and that carbon dioxide continues to accumulate and the heat continues to accumulate. What can you walk us through that? Now what are we going to start seeing? What are the effects of that on the earth?
So there's several different effects. I think the key thing to remember is that there's two general lines that are occurring. One is because you have that additional carbon dioxide trapping additional heat, you get more heat, so warming, but that also means more energy, and more energy means more storms, more extreme weather, and things like that. And we're seeing that with more droughts, more floods, more winter blizzards. People sometimes point to winter blizzards and say, oh, so no global warming. But no, winter blizzards should get more intense as a result of global warming because there's more energy in the atmosphere to drive them. And then the second line of action that occurs is carbon dioxide that we put into the atmosphere. About half of it actually gets absorbed into the oceans, and the other half stays in the atmosphere. And in the oceans, it reacts chemically and becomes an acid, and that's causing what we call ocean acidification. And that's been tied to things like the death of coral reefs, reductions of fisheries, and all kinds of effects that could in many ways be just as bad as all the warming effects because so many people depend on the ocean for their food supply.
That's true. That's very true. Now, is there, forgive me because I don't know, is there evidence that with response to the ocean, is that happening now? Are there effects on the fish and the acidification like you were talking about?
Yes, that's been seen very clearly. And again, we can measure that acid concentration in the ocean, and it is clearly getting more acidic exactly in lockstep with the amount of carbon dioxide we're adding and putting out through the burning of fossil fuels. And then people, I think, have probably heard about coral reefs dying around the world,
yes,
about fish stocks plummeting in many cases. And of course, sometimes that's due to other things like overfishing, but there's clearly ties to that going on through ocean acidification as well.
Well, how about, and we're in sunny South Florida, so we just had Hurricane Matthew scare. So let's talk about the severe weather. Is there evidence that our weather patterns are becoming a little more dramatic?
Yeah, and I think it's pretty hard to miss for anybody who is an adult. You know, the things that are different now than they were. If you just look around, think about the weather when you were younger, what it's like today. Things have definitely changed. And then you can look at the statistics of it. I have lots of graphs in the book that show you the data. There's no question that the extreme weather events have increased. And of course, since you're in Florida, we should probably also talk about sea level rise. Maybe you were going to ask about that next.
You read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to do. So I can only imagine, and I think a lot of our viewers realize this as well, is the warmer things get, there are ice caps that are melting and the sea levels are going to be rising. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so there's actually two different effects that both increase sea level through global warming. The first is, we all know that when you heat air, it expands.
Yes.
The same thing actually happens to water, although it's a very subtle effect. You won't notice it in a cup of water or a pot of water. But when you're talking about a couple miles of water in the ocean, the warming temperatures have actually caused sea level to rise about a foot already in the past century. And that effect alone is predicted to make the sea level rise another 1 foot or so by the year 2100. The second effect, which could be far more dramatic, is the melting of ice that's landlocked. So when you have ice melting in Greenland, Antarctica, glaciers around the world, that can also increase sea level as well. And that's the part that's much more difficult for scientists to predict because we don't understand ice melting all that well and how quickly it can melt. But most people think that that effect will raise sea level by at least about 3 feet. So think about that, right?
Yes.
Over the rest of this century. And some are concerned it could raise it by as much as 10 to 20 feet by the year 2100.